The morning of my graduation, I woke up before my alarm. For a few seconds, I just stared at the ceiling, trying to convince myself it was real. 24 years old. 4 years of college. 2 jobs. Countless nights surviving on coffee and 3 hours of sleep. And finally, I had made it. My name was Emily Carter, and that morning, I was supposed to walk across a stage at Westbrook University and receive the diploma I had fought so hard for. I smiled as I reached for my phone. There were already dozens of messages. My best friend, Lauren, had sent me 6 heart emojis. My aunt had written, "Your grandmother would be so proud." And then there was the message from my older sister, Madison. "Proud of you. See you soon." I stared at it longer than I should have. Madison and I had never been close. She was 3 years older, beautiful, confident, and effortlessly successful, or at least that's what everyone believed. Whenever relatives talked about us, they described Madison as the responsible one. I was the hardworking one. She was the accomplished one. I was always somehow the girl who was still trying to catch up. But that morning, I didn't care. For once, I wasn't competing with my sister. I was celebrating myself. I put on my graduation gown, fixed my hair, and looked at myself in the mirror. My mother, Diane, walked into my room holding her phone. "Emily," she said, smiling through tears, "you're really doing this." I laughed. "I told you I would." She hugged me tightly. Then she whispered, "Your sister should be here soon." My smile faded for half a second. Of course she should. At 10:30, the front door opened. Madison walked inside wearing a cream-colored dress, expensive heels, and a smile that looked perfect enough for a magazine cover. She carried a large gift bag. "Oh my God," Mom said. "You look beautiful." Madison hugged her. Then she turned toward me. "Graduation girl." She smiled. I smiled back. "Thanks for coming. Wouldn't miss it." She handed me the gift bag. Inside was a gold bracelet. For a moment, I was genuinely touched. "Madison." She shrugged. "You deserve it." I hugged her. And I remember thinking, maybe today can be different. Maybe I had been wrong about her. Maybe she really was proud of me. I should have known better. The university auditorium was packed. My parents sat near the front with Madison. Lauren sat beside me backstage, practically vibrating with excitement. "You're shaking," she whispered. "I am not." "You absolutely are." I laughed. Then the dean walked onto the stage. One by one, names were called. My heart pounded harder with every student. Finally, the dean looked down at the card in his hand. Emily Carter. The auditorium erupted. I stepped forward. For that brief walk across the stage, everything disappeared. The difficult semesters. The tuition bills. The nights I cried because I thought I wasn't smart enough. My mother's sacrifices. Every rejection. Every time someone told me I wasn't going to make it. I reached the dean. He shook my hand. I accepted my diploma. And when I turned toward the audience, I saw my mother standing and crying. My father was clapping. Lauren was screaming. And Madison was standing too. But she wasn't smiling. She was staring at me with an expression I couldn't understand. I walked off stage. Lauren grabbed me. "You did it." I laughed through tears. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Madison. "We need to talk. Now." I frowned. Before I could respond, she appeared backstage. "We need to leave," she said. "Leave?" "Yes." "Madison, I'm supposed to take pictures." Her expression hardened. "Emily, stop pretending." My stomach tightened. "Pretending what?" She looked around. Then she said something that changed everything. "You know exactly what you did." I stared at her. "What are you talking about?" She pulled out her phone. "Don't make me do this here." "Do what?" Her voice became louder. "You lied to Mom and Dad about how you paid for college." My blood ran cold. Lauren stepped closer. "Madison, what are you talking about?" Madison ignored her. "You've been pretending you worked your way through school." "I did." "No, you didn't." She held up her phone. "You stole money from Dad's account." The world seemed to stop. "What?" Madison's voice carried across the hallway. "You heard me." People nearby began turning toward us. I could feel my face burning. "That's not true." Madison shook her head. "I have the bank statements." My mother appeared behind her. What's happening? Madison looked at Mom. Mom, I'm sorry. But you deserve to know. I felt my chest tighten. Mom, she's lying. Madison immediately started crying. Not angry tears. Not fake-looking tears. The kind that made everyone instinctively feel sorry for her. I didn't want to ruin her graduation, she said softly. But I can't keep covering for her. Mom looked at me. Emily. I could barely breathe. Mom, I swear to you, I never took anything. Madison showed her phone. There were transfers into her account. My father stepped closer. What transfers? Madison looked directly at me. Almost $20,000. A murmur spread through the hallway. I shook my head. No. Madison whispered, I'm sorry. Then she turned to our parents. I tried to protect the family. That sentence destroyed me. Because suddenly, everyone was looking at me like I was a criminal. My father asked quietly, Emily, is there something you're not telling us? I looked at him. The man who had taught me to ride a bicycle. The man who had stayed up with me before every major exam. And for the first time in my life, I saw doubt in his eyes. I felt tears filling mine. I didn't steal anything. Madison stepped closer. Then explained the transfers. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Because I didn't have the bank statements. I didn't have an explanation. And Madison knew it. She smiled. Just for a second. It was barely noticeable. But I saw it. And suddenly, something inside me changed. I stopped trying to defend myself emotionally. I started thinking. There was only one person who could have accessed those records. Only one person who knew enough about my family's finances to create something this convincing. And only one person had a reason to destroy me on the exact day I was supposed to succeed. My sister. I looked at Madison. She thought she had won. But as I watched her put her arm around our mother, I remembered something she had said to me 2 months earlier. You'd be surprised how easy it is to make people believe a story. At the time, I thought she was joking. Now I wasn't so sure. I wiped my tears. Okay, I said. Everyone went silent. Madison looked confused. Okay. I nodded. Show me every transfer. She smiled. I will. Then I looked directly into her eyes. Because once I see them, I'm going to find out where every dollar actually went. For the first time that day, Madison's smile disappeared. And I realized something terrifying. She wasn't afraid that I would prove my innocence. She was afraid that I might discover the truth. Madison's smile disappeared so quickly that, for a second, I wondered if I had imagined it. Then she recovered. Fine, she said. I'll send everything. She turned toward Mom. I can't believe Emily is making this about me. I almost laughed. She had accused me of stealing $20,000, humiliated me in front of my classmates on graduation day, and somehow she was the victim. That was Madison's gift. She could turn any room into a courtroom and somehow make herself the person everyone wanted to protect. My father looked exhausted. Everyone go home, he said. We'll talk about this tonight. I wanted to argue. Instead, I nodded. Because I had finally realized something. If Madison had created this story, getting emotional was exactly what she wanted. So I walked away. Lauren followed me outside. The moment we reached the parking lot, she grabbed my arm. Emily. I'm fine. No, you're not. I looked at her. I know. She hugged me. I finally broke down. Not because Madison had embarrassed me. Not because people had heard the accusation. I cried because my parents had believed her before they believed me. After 4 years of working myself to exhaustion, my graduation had lasted less than an hour before Madison turned it into something ugly. But underneath the pain was something else. A question. Where had those supposed transfers come from? And why was Madison so confident I couldn't trace them? That evening, my parents sat across from me at the kitchen table. Madison was there too. She had printed everything. 3 pages of bank transactions. Dates. Amounts. Account numbers. It looked legitimate. My father pushed the papers toward me. Explain. I scanned the pages. There were transfers totaling $19,800. My name appeared beside several of them. But something bothered me. The dates. I picked up my phone. Madison, where did you get these? From Dad's online banking. You accessed Dad's account? He gave me permission months ago. Dad nodded reluctantly. She helps me with some financial paperwork. I looked back at the pages. What bank? Madison frowned. What bank are these from? She hesitated. Why does that matter? Because the formatting looks different from Dad's statements. My father looked at her. Madison. She crossed her arms. Emily, you're grasping at anything because you don't want to admit what you did. I looked at Dad. Can I see the actual account? He hesitated. Then he opened his laptop. We logged into the bank. I searched the transaction history. Nothing. No $19,800. Not one transfer. My father stared at the screen. What? Madison stepped forward. Maybe the online history only goes back so far. I shook my head. No. I pointed toward the printed pages. Look at the dates. Dad leaned closer. His expression changed. The dates are from last month. Silence. Madison suddenly grabbed the papers. Maybe the bank system is glitching. Dad stood. Madison. She froze. Where did you get these? I told you. No. His voice was different now. Where did you get them? She looked at me. For the first time I saw fear. Real fear. Then she dropped the papers on the table. I'm tired of being treated like I'm the problem. She walked out. The front door slammed. Mom looked at me. I don't understand. Neither did I. But I knew one thing. Those documents were fake. And Madison had just been caught lying. The next morning, I called the bank. After verifying the account information with my father, I explained the situation. The representative couldn't discuss everything with me, but she could confirm something important. There had been no transfers. None. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Someone had fabricated financial records using my name. But why? I started going through every conversation Madison and I had ever had. Then I remembered something. 6 weeks earlier, Madison had asked me for my social security number. She said she needed it for Dad's tax paperwork. I had refused. She had laughed and said, "Relax. I'm your sister." At the time, I hadn't thought much about it. Now I couldn't stop thinking about it. I called my father. Dad, did Madison ever ask you for my financial information? He was silent. She asked me for your tax documents once, he finally said. Did you give them to her? No. I closed my eyes. That meant Madison had been searching for information. But for what? I needed proof. So I started digging. Not into Madison's personal life. Into the records she had left behind. And that's when I found the first strange thing. Madison had recently changed her mailing address. I discovered it while helping Mom update an emergency contact list. Her new address was an apartment downtown. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was that Mom had never heard of the apartment. Neither had Dad. I searched the property records available online. The apartment was leased under a company name, Marlowe Consulting LLC. Madison had never mentioned owning a company. I searched the company. The website was almost empty. Just a logo, a phone number, and one sentence. Private financial consulting. I called the number. A receptionist answered. Thank you for calling Marlowe Consulting. Hi, I said. I'm trying to reach Madison Carter. There was a pause. Who is calling? I hung up. My heart was pounding. Why was my sister running a consulting company none of us knew about? And why did it have a private office? I called Lauren. Can you help me with something? Anything. Don't tell anyone. She agreed. I gave her the company name. 2 hours later, she called me back. Emily. What? You need to sit down. I sat. What did you find? That company isn't just Madison's. What do you mean? There's another person listed in the business records. Who? Lauren hesitated. Then she said a name I recognized immediately. Jason Reed. Madison's former fiancé. The man everyone in our family believed had moved to California after their breakup. But apparently, he hadn't gone anywhere. He was still in town. And his name was attached to Madison's secret company. I stared at my computer. Why would Madison be working with Jason? Lauren said quietly, I don't know. Then she sent me a screenshot. It showed a social media account belonging to Jason. There was a photograph from 3 days earlier. Jason was standing beside Madison. They were smiling. Behind them was the entrance to an upscale apartment building, and Madison was wearing a ring. Not the engagement ring Jason had once given her. A different one. My stomach dropped. I zoomed in. The caption was only 4 words. Our new beginning. I called Lauren. That's impossible. Why? Because Madison told everyone she hated Jason. Lauren was silent. I stared at the photograph. Then another thought hit me. The fake bank transfers. The secret company. The hidden apartment. Jason. The ring. What if the $19,800 wasn't meant to make me look like a thief? What if it was meant to cover something else? I opened the company records again. There were several recent transactions, and one name appeared repeatedly. Diane Carter. My mother's name. My hands went cold. Someone had been moving money through a company my sister had hidden from our family. And somehow, my mother's name was connected to it. I immediately called Mom. Mom, I need you to answer one question. What is it? Have you ever heard of Marlowe Consulting? There was a long silence. Then Mom whispered something that made my blood run cold. Emily, where did you hear that name? I sat completely still. Because Mom wasn't asking what it was. She already knew. And when she finally told me why, I realized Madison's secret was much bigger than a fake graduation accusation. Emily, where did you hear that name? My mother's voice was barely above a whisper. I sat frozen at my desk. Mom, please. Just tell me. Another silence. Then she said, Madison asked me to invest in a company. My heart dropped. What company? Marlowe Consulting. I closed my eyes. When? About 8 months ago. 8 months. Madison had been building this secret life long before my graduation. What did you invest? Mom hesitated. $30,000. I stood up so quickly that my chair rolled backward. 30,000? She told me it was a private investment opportunity. She said Jason had business connections and they were helping small companies with financial planning. Did Dad know? No. I couldn't believe it. Mom, did you give her the money? Yes. Did you get anything back? No. My stomach tightened. Mom, you need to listen to me. That company may not be what Madison told you it was. She started crying. Are you saying my daughter stole from me? I don't know yet. That was the truth. I didn't want revenge anymore. I wanted answers. And I wanted my family to know the truth before Madison could create another story. That night, I asked my parents to come to my apartment. Madison wasn't invited. Neither was Jason. I placed everything on the dining table. The fake bank statements. The company records. The property information. The photograph of Madison and Jason. And the investment documents Mom had signed. Dad stared at everything. I don't understand. I took a breath. Madison accused me of stealing $20,000. Dad nodded. The bank confirmed I didn't. I handed him the documents. Then I found out Madison owns a company with Jason. Dad looked at Mom. And your money was invested in it. Mom wiped her eyes. I thought I was helping my daughter. Dad's face hardened. How much? 30,000. He stood. Madison took $30,000 from your mother? I don't know if she took it. I pointed to the paperwork. But the company hasn't provided the services it promised, and there's no evidence of the business activity Madison described. Dad picked up the phone. I'm calling her. I stopped him. Don't. He looked at me. Why? Because if Madison realizes we know everything, she'll have time to destroy whatever evidence is left. Dad stared at me, then slowly put the phone down. For the first time, my father wasn't looking at me like a daughter who needed defending. He was looking at me like someone who had a plan. What do you want to do? I answered honestly. I want the truth. The next morning, I contacted the bank again. Then I contacted the state business registry. Then I spoke with an attorney recommended by one of my professors. I didn't accuse Madison of a crime. I didn't threaten her. I simply provided the documents and asked what they meant. The attorney reviewed everything. Her name was Rachel Morgan. After nearly an hour, she looked at me. Emily, there's something you need to understand. What? Your sister may have created a false paper trail to make the transfers appear connected to you. Why? Rachel leaned back. That's the question. She examined the fake statements again. These documents aren't sophisticated. Whoever created them probably assumed nobody would verify the original account. So Madison wanted everyone to believe I stole money. Yes. But why? Rachel looked at the company documents. Because if people believe you were responsible for the missing money, they stop asking where the money actually went. My heart sank. Mom's investment. Rachel nodded. Exactly. I suddenly understood. Madison hadn't attacked me because she hated my graduation. She attacked me because she needed a distraction. And I had been the perfect target. My graduation gave her a room full of witnesses. A believable emotional moment. And a family already accustomed to seeing me as the less successful sister. She thought everyone would believe her. She was almost right. 3 days later, I received a message from Madison. Can we talk? I stared at it, then replied, yes. She asked me to meet her at a coffee shop. When I arrived, she was already sitting near the window. She looked exhausted. For once, there was no perfect makeup, no confident smile, no carefully rehearsed expression. Just Madison, my sister. She looked up. I never wanted this to happen. I sat across from her. You ruined my graduation. I know. You accused me of stealing money. I know. You lied to Mom and Dad. She looked down. I know. I waited. Finally, she whispered, I thought I could fix everything. Fix what? She looked toward the window. Jason. I said nothing. Madison continued. He started the company because he had debts. He convinced me we could make money quickly. At first, it worked. How much? Not much. And Mom's 30,000? She closed her eyes. Most of it went to paying old debts. My heart sank. And the rest? Living expenses. I couldn't believe it. You used Mom's money to fund your life? I was going to pay her back. When? She didn't answer. And the fake statements? Madison looked at me. I needed everyone to stop asking questions. So you framed me. Her eyes filled with tears. I thought if everyone believed you had taken money from Dad, nobody would look at me. I sat silently. Then she said something I wasn't expecting. I was jealous of you. I looked at her. Why? Because you struggled and still succeeded. She laughed bitterly. You worked 2 jobs. You earned everything. People respected you for it. Her voice cracked. I kept pretending my life was perfect because I couldn't stand the idea that you were becoming the person everyone admired. I felt tears in my eyes. Madison, you didn't have to compete with me. I know. You were my sister. I know. She covered her face. For a moment, I almost forgave her. Then I remembered my graduation. My parents' faces. The humiliation. The accusation. The fake documents. I couldn't erase any of it. I want you to tell Mom and Dad everything. She looked up. Everything. Everything. She swallowed. And Jason. You tell them about him too. Madison nodded. I will. That evening, we sat around the same kitchen table where everything had started. Madison confessed. She admitted the company, the hidden apartment, the money, Jason, and the fake bank statements. My mother cried. My father barely spoke. When Madison finally finished, Dad looked at her. You didn't just make a mistake. Madison lowered her head. You made a choice. She nodded. And then you tried to destroy your sister to protect yourself. Another nod. Dad stood. You're going to repay every dollar. I will. And you're going to cooperate with the attorney. I will. Then he looked at me. Emily, I'm sorry. Those 2 words hit harder than I expected. I started crying. Why? Because when she accused you, I believed the evidence before I believed my daughter. Mom reached across the table and held my hand. I should have trusted you. I squeezed her fingers. I just wanted you to know I wasn't lying. We know now, she whispered. The consequences came quickly. Madison had to unwind the business arrangements, repay what she could, and cooperate with the legal process surrounding the questionable financial records. Jason disappeared from our lives. The hidden apartment was surrendered. Mom eventually recovered most of her investment through a settlement and repayment arrangement. And Madison? She moved to another state. Not because anyone forced her out. Because she finally understood that rebuilding trust would take years. As for me, I didn't let the scandal define my future. 3 months after graduation, I accepted my first full-time job in my field. 6 months later, I moved into my own place. And a year after the graduation disaster, I returned to Westbrook University. This time, I wasn't there as a student. I had been invited to speak to graduating seniors. I stood behind the same podium where my name had once been called. I looked across the auditorium and remembered the girl I had been that day. Heartbroken, humiliated, terrified that one lie could destroy everything she had worked for. Then I smiled. Sometimes, I told the students, the person standing closest to you can be the person who hurts you the most. The room became silent. But don't let someone else's betrayal convince you that their version of you is the truth. I looked toward the audience. Your life isn't defined by what someone says about you. I paused. It's defined by what you do after they say it. The applause started slowly. Then it filled the room. After the speech, Lauren met me outside. You know what's funny, she said. What? Your graduation was supposed to be the worst day of your life. I smiled. And she shrugged. Turns out it was the day you finally stopped letting your sister write your story. I looked back at the university. She was right. Madison had tried to ruin the moment when I finally became the person I wanted to be. But she accidentally gave me something far more valuable than a perfect graduation. She gave me the courage to stop chasing my family's approval, to stop comparing myself to her, and to understand that revenge doesn't always mean destroying the person who hurt you. Sometimes the smartest revenge is simply refusing to become the person they wanted you to be. I walked toward my car, carrying the same diploma Madison had tried to overshadow. I had worked for it. I had earned it. And nobody could take that away from me. Not even my sister. Especially not my sister. Because in the end, Madison's biggest mistake wasn't ruining my graduation. It was believing that I would stay quiet after she did.